So this is going to be a different kind of video today. I'm going to be talking about my new camera, the Panasonic G80 or G85 if you're in the States. Basically going to be talking about why I bought it over say something like the G85 or the A7 series of cameras from Sony or something like the A6500. I just want to start off by saying this is actually the first video I'm filming with this camera to put onto YouTube. It's basically because I had a broken wrist and, you know, wrists are kind of helpful for playing guitar, so yeah. So if this camera isn't at the top of your list, or you're leaning more heavily towards one of the other cameras mentioned, or just a different camera, hopefully some of the things I talk about in this video will make the buying process easier. So this isn't so much a video that's going to be running off specs and stuff like that. It's more kind of why I chose this over something else, and yeah, how I arrived at this decision. Firstly, none of the cameras I was considering are bad. In fact, they're all very good. Unfortunately, there's just no such thing as a perfect camera. They all deliver great picture quality and a variety of features. The main thing I found when looking at all these different cameras was, what am I going to have to compromise? Am I prepared to give up functionality for better low light performance, or vice versa? So for me, this was probably the hardest part of the whole process, because I didn't want to buy a camera and then a couple of weeks down the line be like, well, I've chosen the wrong camera, because I don't want to be stuck with a camera I don't want to use, and I don't want to then buy yet another new camera. So after I'd sorted out my budget and I started to look at all the shiny toys, I had to sort of weigh up, you know, what I want out of the camera versus what I need. Because if I'd have bought the camera that I just wanted on kind of face value, I'd have bought Fuji X-T2, because I think they look really cool and I really love taking still photographs with it. But from a video point of view, it just didn't tick enough boxes for me. This is why identifying what you're going to be using the camera for and also how you're going to be using it is very important, because my budget would have allowed me to go out and buy a brand new G85 or an A7S2, but that wouldn't have been the best use of my money, even though I'd got sort of the best camera that I could afford to get, not necessarily the correct camera for the job, because I'm not a professional filmmaker, I'm a musician, I play guitar, so that's kind of what I do, so that's why I opted for something like this, and then that allowed me to stretch my budget out to get things like lights and everything like that, which we'll go through later when I talk about budget. So now we'll move on to the how and what I use this camera for. So we'll start with how I use the camera, and this is pretty much how I use the camera. So I'm either filming myself or my band or something like that, but the key thing there is that there's no one behind the camera operating it unless I'm filming someone else. So that's quite a big deal. So if you're going to be using the camera for vlogging or something like this, or if you're a musician and you want to make videos for YouTube, functionality should be at the top of your list, because you don't want a camera that's a pain in the ass to use, because you won't want to use it and you won't want to make videos or anything like that, and that's a bad thing. I know people that spend the majority of their time behind the camera filming others, they're willing to sacrifice something like functionality or ease of use for something like better low light performance, which is why something like the A6500 from Sony is always a popular choice. But if you're really after ease of use, then I think this camera really is, you know, hard to beat. And it is idiot proof because I use it. I've got nothing bad to say about how easy the camera is to use. It comes with a great app. The Panasonic app is really good, and again, that was another big important thing for it to have, as I do spend so much time in front of it. You know, I wanted to be able to see the picture clearly on my phone, and be able to change all the parameters I need, like ISO, the focus point, white balance, stuff like that. You can do that all from the phone. The only thing I wish it did show you on your phone that it doesn't is audio levels, especially because I use it for music. That was quite important, but it only shows that on the screen on the camera. So another thing that this camera has that wasn't a feature on all the other cameras I was considering is the screen. It's got a fully articulating flip-out touchscreen. And the thing I just said about, you know, the audio levels not being displayed on the app, they are displayed quite clearly on the screen, so it's easy to check in there if I need to. If you're going to be using the camera for vlogging and stuff like that, then I think the screen is an essential. Especially having a touchscreen this good, it's customizable, so you can put all your options and parameters you want to change right on the screen. So it's just a case of a couple of taps to change them up. So just a couple of quick things before we move on to what I use the camera for and why it fits my needs for that, is that a lot of people criticise the Panasonic autofocus system. I mean, that might change off this video, but I've not had any problems with that so far. I've not had any problems with the fishing or pulsing that people have had. It could be a bit quicker in places, but apart from that, I've got no complaints really. It does what I need it to do just fine. The other thing is, I don't want it to sound like I'm selling the camera short on the picture quality, because I'm really happy with the picture quality. I came from a Canon 70D, and as far as I'm concerned, the difference is sort of night and day. I was quite surprised at how much better results I was getting out of this Panasonic. You may not be able to tell so much now because this is a bad situation to be filming in. It's very low light. I haven't got any light set up or anything like that. I just wanted to get this video done and uploaded. But this is a situation where the footage from my 70D would have looked terrible. But I'm happy with it enough to upload it and put it on the internet. So there you go. So I'm going to be using it for pretty typical stuff for a guitarist sort of thing. Film on my band, filming cover videos, gear demos, playthroughs of my own songs, that kind of thing. A couple of other non-musical things I'm sort of working on at the moment, but I have used it for Instagram, for doing videos and taking pictures for Instagram, and that's been really good because it is so quick to transfer the footage from the camera to the phone via the app. So that's been really useful so far. And so it's all pretty much stuff for social media. For me, that was an important thing to not lose sight of, because as well as a camera, I wanted to get other things like lights and etc. and stuff like that. So that's why I ended up not spending my whole budget on something like a G85 or an A7S. So now we'll talk about what I actually got for my money. So obviously I got the camera. I also got the Olympus 12-40 f2.8 lens, a year's subscription to Adobe Premiere Pro, a really good small Manfrotto backpack to put everything in, 120GB high-speed SD card, a Manfrotto desk tripod, a USB 3.0 card reader, the UV filter for the lens, a Rode VideoMic Pro with a dead kitten, a bi-colour LED light panel, and sort of 2 cheap lav mics that sort of just clip on here. Yeah, so I got all that stuff for the same amount as I was willing to spend on something like a G85 or an A7S. If I'd have got them for the more expensive camera, I'd have just had the camera and the kit lens. So when I broke it down into the list of what I could get, plus the camera and the kit lens, the choice was pretty obvious for me. So when I really evaluated my needs, I thought, well, I do need the light panel, because where I'm filming in most of the time, which is this room, it's not brilliantly well lit. I've been used prime lenses before, and I never had one that was quite wide enough. The camera was always too far away for one person to be filming and being in front of it at the same time. So that's why I opted for the Olympus kind of wide angle lens. And I was also told that having a really good lens is just as important as having the body, if not more so. So I was keen to kind of get the best lens my budget would allow as well. And because the camera films in 4K, I thought, well, I need the high speed, big capacity memory card, as well as going for Adobe, because before I didn't have the most up-to-date editing software. So when you start to throw in the extras like the desk tripod and the backpack and the Rode mic and everything like that, then that made the decision even easier, because it's all stuff that I would have ended up buying eventually, but I was able to get everything I needed all at once to start making videos. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's why I chose what I did. I don't have any regrets about it. I don't kind of think, oh, maybe I wish I had got an A7 or G85 or whatever. But for me, it came down to the easiest camera to use and getting the best quality. This camera, with all the extras and stuff I got, it ticked the most boxes. So I sort of had to use common sense and go for that. I think workflow is something people tend to overlook, because I know from personal experience working in recording studios that if a piece of equipment is not easy to use and it's not allowing you to do the job you want, then you're not using it. And what's the point of buying a camera and not using it? Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, comment and subscribe. If you've got any questions, you can always hit me up on Facebook. Link to my Facebook page will be in the description. Or you can drop a comment below and I'll get back to it as soon as I can. I wanted to put my opinion across from the point of view of someone that's going to be using the camera to make content about what they love. A lot of the videos I watched on the cameras was from the point of view of someone that uses it for videography or cinematography, which is not necessarily how I would be using the camera or what you want to be using it for. So regardless of what content you're making, I'm hoping my thoughts on how I reached my decision will help you evaluate your wants and needs and, pick the best camera for you. I do genuinely hope that someone has found this video helpful in some way. I don't normally do videos like this, especially on cameras, but I'm hoping with this camera I can now start to make more of the video content that I want to.